Welcome everyone. This video lecture is for the first unit in child development, and it will cover chapters 2, 3, and 4 of the textbook. Focuses on pregnancy and infant and theoretical foundations, genetics, and that area. So first and foremost, the due date for all the assignments is Saturday, August 6th at midnight, Mountain Standard Time. Once again, a reminder that iLearn automatically adjusts the due date given your time zone. So if it says August 7th at 1:59 a.m., then that's the due date, but everything is based off of midnight Mountain Time in Idaho. The assignments that are required to be in by this deadline is the collaborative quest, also called the discussion board. Keep in mind that your initial post is due on Wednesday, and then you're required to receive, in order to receive full points, you need to make 2 additional responses to peers. The discussion board for this unit, or for this first unit, is an introduction of yourself with a picture, so it doesn't really relate to the course as much. The observations and development, the Dear Abby letters, the reflective journal, and the reading quizzes on chapters 2, 3, and 4. You've already done chapter 1 in the previous week. Some helpful hints for this unit. First off, there is a section on genetics, and it's a difficult topic. Unless you're very science-oriented, it's sometimes hard to understand completely. So bear with me, email me questions, ask me questions. Know that you don't need to have a great understanding of genetics to go further in the class. It's a basic understanding of it so that you can understand why children are the way they are as far as the nature part of the debate between nature and nurture. That there is some evidence that shows children's behaviors and personality comes from the nature, from genetics. The Dear Abby letter, just a reminder, has the minimum word requirement. The entire class is combined for this unit's discussion board. Also, regarding the collaborative quest, I would love it if you remember to post a picture of yourself or your family. It's nice to have a face to the name, so please consider doing that. Before I go into genetics, let me back up and go into iLearn and go into this unit. So you'll click on content, and then here is unit 1. And so let me change something real quick. Okay, I am set as a student. Perfect. So unit 1, here is the start of it. Again, you start with the theories, and you will go through and answer the journal questions. I will remind you that some of the journal questions are back from week 1. When you go into chapter 1 introduction, and you noticed this last week, that it starts the journal questions in this unit in the introduction week. So make sure that for the journal assignment that you go back and do that. So there's 2, and under chapter 3, which is heredity and environment, which focuses on genetics, there's a PowerPoint presentation that I've made to help you out with one of the journal questions, and I'll show you that presentation, but here it is if you want to reference it later. It's right in the same chapter. And then you're also talking about the development, the prenatal development and birth, and then the reading check. So under here is Unit 1 activities. Let me go through these a little bit more in detail. So the collaborative quest, I'm asking you to post a little bit about yourself along with a picture, anything you want to share, what your major is, what your family's like, where you're living right now, what you do for fun, if you have a job. And so you're going to post it, add a picture please, and then again make 2 additional responses. That your initial post, your introduction post, is due on Wednesday. Then here's the Dear Abby letters with the directions for the minimum word count. So you're going to open up the file, and you can enter it right here. So, and then write your response. Okay. That's the easiest way to do it. So you can, and then save the document and submit it. Now, keep in mind that, so your minimum word count is 2,200. That includes what's already here. So for down here, you'll see that there's already 1,100 words in this document. So to meet the requirement, you just need to type another 1,100. So the final word count, including all the letters, all the type, all the typing, is 2,200. You are required to answer 3 letters from each chapter. So 3 from chapter 2, 3 from chapter 3, and 3 from chapter 4, and watch to make sure that you fulfill that requirement. So for example, these are letters that parents would send in with concerns about their children, and you would use the course material to answer those questions, to give them advice, counsel, recommendations. All right, let's go back and we'll click on the observations and development. This one is having you watch 2 videos. And the first one is Jane Elliott. Jane Elliott did a study in a classroom many, many decades ago. I believe it was in the 50s, to study racism, stereotyping, judgment, attitudes, things like that in children. It's a great study and research that probably would not be allowed to happen anymore based on standards and regulations. So there's a great, as I said, a great video that you'll watch and then answer the following 4 questions. This ethical standards for research with children, it's not referred to this in the textbook, but I would, the textbook does refer to the IRB, which is a research board. Let me pull up the page number so you have that. Real quick here. Institutional Review Board, it will be on page 30. And what this review board does is, if you are ever doing a study that involves participants, you need to submit your outline of what you're going to do, your hypothesis, how you're involving your participants, how you're screening them, what you're doing with them. And you submit it to this review board and they decide if it's ethical or not based on guidelines. So when it talks about the ethical standards for research, in the textbook, it doesn't refer directly to that, but use page 30 regarding the IRB. And that would be where you would reference and find an answer to this question. Then you're going to watch this other short video and answer the last question. So that's for the observations and development. This question regarding independent and dependent variables, there's also a similar question in the reflective journal, and I'll go more into detail on that in just a moment. All right, we'll go back to the activity. So here's the reflective journal. And you just open it up in Word. And you answer the questions right here. Keep in mind, as I mentioned, that's the first, I believe, 7 questions, maybe even the first 6 are in the first chapter, chapter 1 of the textbook, which is under the introduction week. So you may have to go back to the first week, the introduction, to find more resources and references to these, such as the video of, or the World Song video right here is in the first introduction week. So reference back to that. Let's see, let's go back. I will come back to the reflective journal. So for genetics, I'm going to go to this. So the reflective journal, question 11, let me pull that up real quick for you so you know what it is. It asks you to arrange the following from smallest to largest. And the textbook, unfortunately, does not do a very good job describing each of these in full detail. So this PowerPoint presentation will hopefully help you out with that. I'm going to go through each one a little bit more in detail from what the text gives us. We will begin with allele. This is the most basic part of the gene or the DNA. Basically, every gene has multiple alleles from each parent. Essentially, the alleles is based on the mother and the father's genes. So in this picture down below, it refers to eye color. So each parent has two alleles based on their eye color, their hair color, their height, different variations of genes. And so if a mother has blue eyes, she can carry two blue eye alleles. And the father has brown eyes, he can be a dominant brown allele and a recessive blue allele. Then each child gets one allele from each parent. So they could get the brown allele from the dad and have brown eyes, or it could get a blue allele from each parent and have blue eyes, which is what's demonstrated in this picture down below. So keep in mind, alleles are the small parts of the genes. So the next step is the gene. This is a very common term that we use for hair color, height, predisposition for weight. Your metabolism is a genetic, is a gene. We have thousands and thousands of genes. And as I said, these are made up of an allele from each parent. Then the DNA is what consists of the genes. So in this image here, you'll see that this whole thing is DNA, which is pretty synonymous also with a chromosome, but they've taken out a section of each gene. You'll see this ribbon here is a very popular symbol or image of DNA. It makes the proteins for the cells, and it's the heart of the cell. So the chromosome is made up of genes. Each individual has 46 chromosomes, unless there's a defect such as trisomy 21, which is Down syndrome, where there's three number 21 chromosomes. The chromosomes contains all the genes for that individual, and as I said, there's 46 of them, so 23 pairs of chromosomes. The genome. You probably have heard of the genome in reference to the Human Genome Project, which is a study that's being done by several universities to map the entire DNA of a human. Every single chromosome, and inside each chromosome, the DNA and each individual gene, mainly to see if we could pinpoint certain genes that then go on to determine the risk of breast cancer or other types of cancers, heart disease, learning disabilities, autism, things on that spectrum. And so this image, while very small, is just one small segment of the Human Genome Project. So the genome is a set of all the genes. The textbook on page 65 refers to it as the entire packet of instructions for the body of the person. Next, we're going to get into the parts of the cell. So the nucleus is where the DNA, the chromosomes, exist in each cell. Every cell in the body, a liver cell, a heart cell, a skin cell, has a nucleus with the chromosomes in it. Then the cell. So that's easy. It has the ability to procreate, to create more cells of a similar kind, to expand. For example, we regenerate all of our cells. Skin cells regenerate, liver cells. As they die off, our body creates more. Going over into the beginnings of life, a gamete is half of the chromosomes necessary for life, for human life. So in the male, the sperm is the gamete, and in the female, the egg is a gamete. As I said, it only contains 23 chromosomes, so it cannot sustain life on its own. As we will see, so in this image right here, when the sperm and egg implant, and I'm trying to think of the correct term, but when they meet, it's called a zygote, so they unite. This contains 46 chromosomes, once again, unless there's a problem in that union, and it is considered the start of human life as a zygote.